Houston, or should I say Dallas, we have a problem. You guys are obviously well aware, whether you watch my conference final preview video, whether you took my advice before Game 7 of Round 1 against the Golden Knights when I said take Dallas over Edmonton in the conference final, whether you took my advice once again after Game 5 when Vancouver played Edmonton, and I said take Dallas to beat Edmonton, just getting every single price that I could on that conference final. And even after a loss last night, I would typically say, not a big deal. 2 out of 3 games left at home for Dallas. They're the better team, and they've bounced back unbelievably well. However, like I told you how important Rupe Hintz was to that offense, they potentially lost maybe the second most important member of their defense in Chris Tanev. I told you in that conference final preview, he's been tasked with stopping the top lines and top centers on these other teams. He's been matched up against McDavid. He was matched up against McKinnon. I swear to you, I'd rather have Heiskanen be out of this series because you know Harley can step up into his role and at least fill 80% of what Heiskanen does. But what Chris Tanev has been doing, that changes the entire complexion of this series. I told you guys that they were playing 5 defensemen in the last round until they replaced Lundqvist with Petrovic, and now they're going to have to reintroduce Lundqvist, who played 5 minutes a game and was always on the ice for a goal against. Dallas thrived on stymieing teams and winning those low-scoring games. This just threw a major monkey wrench. And if you have Edmonton futures, you should be feeling a whole hell of a lot better. If you have Rangers futures, you should be feeling a whole hell of a lot better. And if you have Florida futures, you should be feeling a whole hell of a lot better. I can't understate how important Chris Tanev is to that team defense of the Dallas Stars, because Hakanpää doesn't look like he's coming back. So you're literally looking at 2 replacement defensemen on a team that tries to thrive defensively and blocking shots, which obviously you know Tanev does a million of. So this is major cause for concern. Now, they do have 2 out of 3 games at home, so they can use last change to their benefit and try to kind of piece together the best matchups that they can. But this would be a cataclysmic loss for the Dallas Stars. And it makes this series a whole hell of a lot more riveting. I'm telling you, I wasn't even... I'm like, Dallas is taking that series. It would take something like this. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to lose this series. Oh, now they're going to lose. But, man, this is a major problem. I'm going to start skewing overs in this series now. I told you I'll never take an over 6.5. They're setting the lines at 5.5. That's something that I'll probably be doing on Friday night when it comes to that Game 5 between those 2 teams. So now you have 2 series where I can say I don't know who's going to win. And now we're going to Madison Square Garden for Game 5 between the Rangers and the Panthers. I was watching some of the Stanley Cup final between the Kings and the Rangers. It looks exactly like this series. Go watch the highlights. It's Lundqvist save, Lundqvist save, Lundqvist save, Lundqvist save. Rangers get a chance, score, they're up. And then the other team's just fighting like mad to try to even it up. Now, the Kings were able to come back in games 1 and 2 and win both of those in overtime. But with Shesterkin, man, that seems like a tall order. When I'm looking at this game, when you look at 3 of the 4 games so far, other than the holiday day game outlier, these are all unders. And you'd expect them to be unders. You have Shesterkin playing incredible, and then you have the Panthers doing what they typically do, focusing on defense, having a vicious forecheck, and it's not easy to score on them. So we've seen 3 of 4 unders, and by golly, that's obviously where I'm going to go. This is a pivotal Game 5, and I can't imagine this is going to be a high-scoring game. If you have a team like Edmonton in there at home, yeah, sure, you always have the McDavid ruckus potential. But between these 2 teams who seem to just try to eke out these games, you gotta like the under in this game. And yeah, sure, I'm gonna tell you the under 5.5, but you guys know me. I'm gonna do anything and everything I can to get that under 6.5. There are a couple different options we can go with here. Last night I brought up that Leon Draisaitl, 3.5 shots on goal, which was only available on Fanduel. If you looked at all the other sites, it was 2.5. He ended up with 3. The extra shot panned out. I'm seeing the same type of thing for Artemi Panarin. 3.5 shots on Fanduel. I'm pretty sure 2.5 everywhere else. And you obviously have that 60-minute qualifier where if it goes to overtime and he's under 3.5, you're good. I will say, I don't like the games at home as much as I do on the road where they can line match, because Panarin can get away from tougher matchups and tougher assignments because they have the benefit of last change. And as you saw in games 1 and 2, he had 3 shots in both of those games, and then 1 shot in game 3, 1 shot in game 4. But I am very tempted because of the way the Panthers play. The under 3.5 on FanDuel to pair with like an under 6.5 is something I could absolutely get behind to get that 6.5 at plus money. What else can we go to? You know, one of my skills, I wish this wasn't a skill of mine. You know how people, I got an eye for talent? I have an eye for a lack of talent. Look at these guys I brought. Did you see Pavelski out there last night? They finally threw him on the 4th line. I'm decent at recognizing who's a bum, and Tarasenko has been nothing but a bum. Although you can argue last game was his best of the series. He actually found himself getting some chances, but he's just not the player that he used to be, and he doesn't dig like the rest of these Panthers. He essentially, unless he's on that top line where they can kind of carry him a little bit, he sinks whatever line he's on, and we got that price on him last game. We got that minus 165. Well, all the sports books needed to see was one game of that, and now it's minus 190. But his line mate, who we've said his name a lot here, who's also on his line, no points in the last game. To me, if you're on Tarasenko's line, you are Tarasenko. Luosterainen has an awful price, but they didn't move Lundell's price. Remember, Lundell's price got made better because he was playing with Verhaeghe and Tkachuk. Obviously, the lines were changed after game 3. If I'm getting Lundell playing on that 3rd line with Tarasenko and Luosterainen in a game that projects to be low scoring, and that 3rd line hasn't scored a single goal in the series, yeah, I'm going to take the minus 160 or whatever it was at on Anton Lundell, who had a great previous series, but remember, he was thrust into a bigger role. He's back on the 3rd line, back to his 25 seconds of power play time, and I'm going to take his under 0.5 point in this game against the New York Rangers. And now just a couple of streaks that I want to remind you guys about. I brought up Gustav Forsling. He now has 9 straight games. It was either 8 or 9 straight games, and in every game in this series, he's gone over 1.5 shots on goal. So if you're doing your builds, you know, like, oh, you need to add 4 legs and then they'll boost your ticket. You need a leg that I like. The over 1.5 shots on goal for Gustav Forsling. He's been cracking these left and right, 9 games straight. So we're going to ride that one until it's dust. So we'll see how that one goes. And then the 2 Bet Rivers guys, they keep listing them. I keep taking them every game in the series. Trouba's been under 1.5 shots on goal, and Capo Caco has been under 0.5 point. I'm going to go back to both of those. And I got to remind you, they don't allow you to do same game parlays if you go under on player points or player shots on goal. So, look, it's a rotation. I just keep doing the same exact thing. There were no shots on goal for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I haven't checked, but as long as Bet Rivers lists him at 2.5 again, under 0.5 point for Capo Caco, under 2.5 shots on goal for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in that upcoming game 5. Under 1.5 shots on goal for Jacob Trouba, under 2.5 shots on goal for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And then one last one that I wanted to note, I said Tarasenko takes down whatever line he's on. Well, if he's dragging down Lundell and Luosterainen, somebody had to benefit by being put on that second line, and that was Evan Rodriguez. He had 3 shots on goal, almost got on the board, almost scored. He had many opportunities in that last game. We're getting his 3rd line shots on goal total. I mean, he was listed at 2.5 last round. Then that 3rd line went cold. Now it's down to 1.5. But he's up to the second line with Tkachuk and Sam Bennett. Obviously, he's seeing more opportunities in that role, and he cleared that easy. He had 3 shots in the last game, and I imagine he's going to find himself in similar positions with all the attention that Tkachuk and obviously the ruckus that Bennett causes. So the over 1.5 shots on goal for Evan Rodriguez. And I just want to say, you know, him and Sam Bennett,
I would like to suggest a parlay.
They have crazy prices for their point props, and they have second line and second power play correlation. Something to think about if you want to take both of them for a point. They're both well in the plus money to register a point. Just give me something to sniff about. I don't know who's going to win this game. I am fascinated. This kind of reminds me of that Lightning Rangers Game 5 from 2 years ago in the conference final. They came back to the Garden 2-2. It was 1-1 after 2. I would not be surprised at all if this game ends 2-1 or it's 2-1 late and then there's like an empty netter. Are you going to bet the final score? I'm sure you do. There are people that do it. They bet every 2-1 and 3-2 combo because it seems like that's what all these games ended. Are we going to get another overtime?
Hockey?
Maybe.
We'll find out. Anyway, good luck to you. Better luck to me. You know all those treat things that I asked you for.
Let me tell you a couple of treat things.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel. That is very much appreciated. What's more appreciated than that? When you guys join the Patreon. It's patreon.com/Andy Francess. On Saturday, Josh is going to post his baseball picks on the Patreon. Then the first show for I Hate Baseball is going to be on Monday. That's something that I hope you guys are looking forward to. I'm looking forward to learning baseball once again. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, I'll be back with you guys tomorrow to talk Game 5 of Edmonton-Dallas. I'll see you then.